Hello gentlemen and the one lady watching.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
Today I'm trying a bit of a different approach because I want to address a demography that's not really often addressed in the crypto space, and this is people above 50, above 60 and on. So if you belong to this group of age, lay your phone aside and listen to my voice, because I'm going to explain why people use cryptocurrency, where it's from, and why it might be important and be the money of the future. So if you like more of this content, leave me a like and a subscription, and we get right into the topic. So, history of money. The most important thing you have to understand about cryptocurrency is that it is the next chapter of money. So history of man is history of money. All through human history, all the wars that have been fought are about resources. If the one group of people had more game than the others, the poorer ones wanted what they had, and they fought wars and they killed each other. And at some point in history, the people had the idea to trade goods against goods, and then they traded goods for some intermediary. And this is what we call money today. So in the first years, these were rare things you could trade for others. There were some people who traded seashells, and of course the most important and the most significant one throughout history is of course gold and silver. It's still really important, as we have seen in recent history, because the gold price is exploding right now. In times of uncertainty, people come back to where history always was, and this is gold. You have to understand there are people that say gold is money and everything else is credit. And pretty much that's the truth. All money we have today is debt. So the debt and all the money is always exactly the same. We come to that maybe a bit later. So let's continue in the story. People exchanged their gold for goods. It's a revolutionary idea, because everyone could carry around gold and buy cattle with it or something else, or even property. And this was a revolutionary idea. But of course there was the man. And when somebody has something you want, of course you try to cheat your way to achieve what you want. And so people faked these gold coins, they tried to scam other people, and all the malevolence that you see today was also back then. And always the problem was humanity itself with the money. Another example is some people scrapped the edges of the gold coins, and from the dust they made new gold coins. And so there was some kind of inflation back then. And the problem was always the man. And you always had problem with trust. In China, there were the first people who said, I can't give you 100 gold coins for that because I can't carry that. And so they wrote an IOU. So they wrote on a paper that they owe 10 gold coins, 100 gold coins. And from that day on, there was paper money. And this idea of paper money, and now we make a big jump into the future, this paper money is nothing than an IOU to a bank. And it is still today. Until 1971. So let's jump a bit back. 1948, there was the Bretton Woods Agreement. The whole world after the Second World War, gigantic chaos, and another story where money played a big role. And the whole world said, okay, we name the dollar the world reserve currency, because all the gold is bound to this dollar. And you could buy a dollar for about you could buy a gold coin for about $30 back then. And all the world traded in dollars. It was convenient, it was nice. The US won the World War and they were a trustworthy entity. And so the whole world traded in dollar. But then, of course, you know history. In 1971, during the Vietnam War, President Nixon said there will be a temporary depeg from the dollar. So to fight speculators, he said. And that was, of course, a lie, because he said it was temporary, and it is until today. So more than 50 years ago, a president said the dollar is no longer pegged to gold. And from that day on, and that what is called in the finance and in the crypto space, the dollar became a fiat currency. For those who don't know, fiat means nothing than there be. It appears out of nowhere. Fiat looks, God said, there will be light, and fiat money just says there will be money, just out of nowhere, like magic. And this is a really, really big problem. You could buy a gold coin for $30 back then. Today it is $4,000. So the gold price hasn't risen at all. It is just the dollar losing value. And while a generation or two generations before ours, a family could buy a home for $10,000, they have to pay now $500,000, $600,000, and they plunge into debt. And well, life isn't what it used to be anymore, because the money is broken. And so we have to examine history until 2001, where the towers fell and the dot-com bubble, where so much money was already circulating and people bought insane stuff. You have to remember, everything that said I have a website with .com behind it, and they just threw money at it because there was so much money already in the system. And it got even more crazier 7 years or 8 years later in the subprime crisis, where people literally just borrowed money from banks, and the banks absolutely knew they would not get a cent back from these people. They weren't trustworthy, they had no income, but what the banks did, they sold the debt, a so-called financial product. So they bundled all these untrustworthy debt into a package and sold that to other people. So here is a package of debt. If you want the money, you have to get it from this dude that clearly has no money, but the guy buying the package didn't know that. And so when the first one said, well, I want to have my money now, and then the whole chain broke and everything crumbled. And pretty much this was the day a lot of people saw that our monetary system is broken. People that do real work, they are standing up in the morning and they go to work and they work 10 hours, 8 hours. They build houses, they work in factories, and they really use their body to create value. Those people became poorer and poorer because the people that just did some mouse clicks became rich. The world we have today, you have to imagine there are teenagers, they are playing video games in front of a camera like I do right now, and they are multimillionaires. This is unthinkable. What are they creating? Except entertainment maybe, or procrastination for some people that don't know what to do with their lives. And this is all because of the money. There is so much money in the system. You have no idea. And the thing is, it keeps on growing. Because the state right now, the US debt is $38 trillion. And on this debt, the people who are really working in the economy, they have to work for the interest on that debt because it is the state's debt. And this is insane because all the taxes get spent on the interest on this debt, and the people get poorer and poorer, and the streets get uglier and uglier, and trash is lying around, and drug abuse is rising, and this all has to do with the money. You have to understand that. But now let's come to what I really want to talk about, because 2008 there was a group of so-called cypherpunks. With them were people like Hal Finney and Adam Back, and one of them, or maybe they are, what we call today Satoshi Nakamoto. We know that the first Bitcoin transaction was for Hal Finney, and he died in 2014. It is pretty much possible that Hal Finney himself is Satoshi Nakamoto. So if you don't know what Bitcoin is, the first thing you have to know, the founder is unknown. We don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. We only have speculation. Some say it's Adam Back. Some even say it's Elon Musk. Some say it's Hal Finney and he died, and so the founder is dead and the system is now in the hands of the people. The thing you have to know, if you hear legacy media saying there will be a kill switch and there will be a snap and all the Bitcoin is gone, this cannot happen. It is impossible. The first thing you have to understand about the Bitcoin network is that no single entity controls it. It is impossible to shut down right now because the network has gotten too big. So 2008, Satoshi was fed up with all the speculating and how money works. And so he wrote in the first Bitcoin block. You don't have to know what that is. So in the first line of code of the Bitcoin network, let's call it like that, he wrote, "The banks get a second bailout." This was a headline from the Financial Times back then, that the ones that caused the crisis, the ones that caused homelessness, poverty, famine, war, the banksters, they got bail out. So the people causing the problem were pretty much paid to cause it. And this was injustice squared. And so Satoshi chose to put this headline into the first block of the Bitcoin blockchain. And so now, for you to understand, there are hundreds, thousands, 10,000s of people on this world right now, each independently running the Bitcoin network. And for every transaction, everyone has to confirm this transaction. It sounds absolutely unimaginable, but this is how this works. If you want to give someone a Bitcoin, you ask the network, and thousands of people have to confirm that. Do you know what that means? Just imagine you pay someone with $5. You give him $5 and you get, don't know what do you get for $5 right now? Maybe a sip of milk or something. Thousands of people see that and can confirm that you paid this guy. So if the guy now said, "Hey, you didn't pay me," you have 1,000 witnesses. So the problem of trust, the problem of humanity, that everyone always tries to cheat their way to the top, is gone with this. It is solved digitally. And that's the only problem, and this is where I pretty much understand the concerns of the older generations. You don't have anything to touch. To be honest, this is not really true, because this is Bitcoin. This is called a wallet, and you have your coins on there. And if you want to trade with someone, if you want to give someone maybe or buy a house, you can say, okay, on here are 3 Bitcoin. Give him the phrase, the password to this. He checks it and then he owns it and you get the house for that. It is not really elegant, this kind of transaction, but it would be possible. So if you want something to touch this here, this, I can touch this. This is Bitcoin, you know? It's possible. The network itself is pretty much the internet itself. So if you want to delete Bitcoin, you have to delete the internet. Some people in the Bitcoin space even say if you really want to destroy the Bitcoin network, you have to kill every human on the planet. Because if one node, so to understand this, there are a lot of node runners on this planet. To explain, you can save the whole Bitcoin network on a hard drive. And you update it daily, and then you have the ledger, and everyone else also has the ledger. And when one of these hard drives survives, the whole network can be restarted in seconds. And then it runs again. Because this guy can upload it to a Bitcoin core, and then hundreds and thousands download it again, and then the network is up again. But if that happens, and you think you can trust your dollars, if there is a famine or if there is a war and really help breaks loose, I'm not sure that anyone wants your dollars. So when we have these kinds of problems, I don't think that money will stay a big problem. All right, what do you have to know? Bitcoin is the secularization of money. One of the big things happening in the 19th and 20th century was the separation from church and state. Because what you believe in has nothing to do with the state. And right now, what the state is doing, so all the institutions like the Federal Reserve and all the central banks, these are centralized entities. And centralized entities always mean that there is corruption. There are lies. There are people trying to benefit themselves by lying and exploiting others, because we are humans. We have to force ourselves into a system where nobody can cheat anymore, because the system itself is made this way. So it removes the human from the equation. And this is what Bitcoin achieved. You have a trustless money. There are too many people controlling the networks that one entity or one man or one woman can actually cheat. The network has gotten too big for one man to be this powerful. And the more people that use it, and the more people that buy it, and the more people that run nodes, and the more people that mine, the stronger the network gets and the more indestructible it gets. And people are right now waking up to that. And we will see the money printers go on again. If you don't know what that means, that's also from the space. Since 1971, USA needed money, and so they just printed the money from thin air, the so-called fiat money. And this money has to find a funnel where it can go to. And this had been stocks for years now. Stocks like Nvidia, they are 4 billion, no, it's 4 trillion. 4 trillion for a stock? That's absolutely insane. A company can't be worth 4 trillion. Just imagine how much money that is. The whole world should work for this company if it was worth that much. But it is not. It is just simple and plain and pure speculation. And this will find a very grim end, if you ask me. But we have a way out. And this way out is called Bitcoin. And I believe in that from the bottom of my heart. And if you want to know more about this and about the crypto space itself, because more and more people pour in, if you want to know where the smartest people are going right now, they are going into crypto or they're going into AI. So the smartest people on this planet work on these two things. And if you think this will just find a brutal and nightmarish end, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. We're gonna see new money, and we need the new money. Alright, if you want more of that, please let me know down in the comments. And I wish you a pleasant day. See you in the next one. Bye.